Hello and welcome to the Post to Post podcast, episode 112, August 16th, 2020. Jason, Neil.
Yo, what's up?
There's been a lot that's happened this week.
There's been so much that's happened this week that I forget the things that happened at the beginning of the week. If we didn't have these notes, I probably wouldn't even have thought to talk about
This is our first week of using the notes. The notes was a good idea.
We have a shared system, shared doc, Google Doc system now where something happens, we put it down in the document, and we both have access to it. And it's resulted in about 9 pages of notes here.
Lots of notes.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff feels like it's 2 weeks old now, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's how much
kind of
stuff.
the disadvantage of releasing a podcast on a Sunday when the Monday after has a lot of crap going on in
That's
it.
right.
So we might as well jump right into it. Normally we do a little bit of like fun stuff at the stop, but we got a lot to get to here.
And
so.
there's all the stuff is in no particular order except for the end thing at the end.
Yeah, we left a couple little fun things at the end. So
Yeah.
So we got to start with the draft, which was this week.
That was probably the biggest thing of the week, although it doesn't really feel like it.
It feels like it was so long ago now,
Yeah.
just because of all the hockey we've been watching.
Feels forever ago.
It's like we had so many months where there was nothing, and now it's just like there's like too much crammed into a week.
I don't even remember what day it was on. Monday, Tuesday? I genuinely do not remember.
It was definitely on a Monday. I think it was at like 6 Eastern. I don't know why I remember that.
Like
but
that's how much stuff has happened, which is amazing.
What did you think of the presentation of the draft overall?
I wasn't listening to it because I was live streaming at the time, so I don't think I really have an opinion of what's going on or what happened. But I thought, like, I don't know if it was Gary showing the balls or someone else showing the balls.
Yeah, there was a guy that had like his mask on. He was showing the balls, and then Gary had to like confirm the logo.
I thought that was ridiculous.
I think the setup they had was good, but we don't need the confirmation.
Yeah, like that's just a waste of time.
It's just like, I can confirm that is the Montreal Canadiens, even though they weren't in it. But that's basically what he was saying.
Anyway.
Like, just, I mean, you could literally, like, he opens the case, like this, like, intense, like, case that would hold, like, a gun in it with all, like, the custom little holes cut out.
Yeah.
And there's 8 balls in it. It's very clear to see that all 8 have the 8 logos
clearly
of the teams. I liked that it was quick, though, and they just put them all in, and one came up.
It didn't take long.
That was it.
Yeah, it was great.
It was funny because when it came up, you could clearly see who won.
Yeah.
And it took, like, probably 5 seconds after the fact for Gary to say who had won it because the camera was zoomed right in on it. But
he's lost a lot of weight.
he was looking
Like almost in a level like, is he sick? Like that's how much weight he's lost. I felt
he looks like he's lost weight / had a lot of hair too.
Yeah.
Like he looks like he needs a cut.
Yeah. Like
But he definitely did look like
his suit looks too big for him.
his shoulders were definitely like more scrawny.
Yeah, I mean, back there behind us for our audio listeners, Gary Bettman is behind us, our mascot. But he didn't look like that. He looked...
You know, he certainly didn't look like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just jump right into it. Obviously, everyone knows by now, New York Rangers won the lottery. How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't think it's rigged how all these other people are saying that's rigged. Like, come on.
If it would have been one of the 3 big teams that nobody wanted to win, that's when we would have heard the outcries. I don't think you can really cry over New York. Sure, they probably didn't need it the most.
Yeah, no. In slow motion, you could see the Toronto ball go up there first and hit off. And stuff.
Yeah.
It could have easily been the Toronto Maple Leafs.
It was like a John Tavares off the post, empty net.
Yeah, exactly.
Just couldn't get it done.
So, I don't think it was rigged. I think that's kind of silly.
So, I think New York's going to be looking real good here.
New York is going to look fantastic. It's not the specific player that they needed as far as who he is and what position he plays and what he brings, because New York is pretty good in that category, but it will at least potentially lead to future trades of maybe some people that could get rid of that's in the same category that could bring in someone that they actually need, like on the back end or something. So
it's good. It's good for the NHL to have New York have a strong team, which they haven't had
good.
for a while.
They're the most profitable team.
They are definitely the biggest team.
I think they...
And when they announced that they were rebuilding, I don't know if that market took it real well because, you know, that's the same market as the Yankees and stuff. They want to win. They don't want to break her down and start over.
There's expectations there.
This accelerates that rebuild, I would say.
Big time.
I have in my notes that with the retool, they added Panarin, obviously, Igor Shesterkin, and then Capo Caco and Adam Fox. So you add Lafreniere to the mix. They're either going to have really great team or they have options to move to bring something else in.
Totally.
I think New York's looking amazing right now.
If you look in the past decade, teams like the Washington Capitals and the Pittsburgh Penguins with Ovechkin and Crosby, those teams are going to start to fall. And now we have teams rising like Carolina with Svechnikov and Aho and stuff. And now the Rangers, like Carolina and the Rangers, and maybe even the Islanders, are going to be strong teams for the next 10 years.
Yep.
So I kind of like that the NHL does that, and it comes in waves a bit for teams. So it's exciting. I like it.
And then I also have in my notes that as a result of the Toronto Maple Leafs not winning the lottery, which means they did not get a top 10 pick, their pick now goes to Carolina.
Which is 13th.
So Toronto does not have a first round pick this year in a year where they did not make the playoffs technically.
That is unfortunate, but
so I don't think we don't need to go over the draft order, do we?
I don't think so. Like,
I mean,
it's not significant right now.
It is a pretty deep draft from what people are saying.
It is.
So even if you're in the top 10 of those teams, you're probably going to get something decent.
I highly suspect that we're going to see a lot of trading as far as draft order compared to previous years.
There's one thing I didn't put in my notes that I want to talk about real quick. So on Wednesday, I believe it was, the Toronto Maple Leafs had their they did like a virtual, what do you call them? They did basically a Zoom call with all the reporters.
Like a town hall?
It was basically like a virtual, like, you know how at the end of the year, the GM always sits at a table and the room's filled with whatever that's called.
Okay.
They had a virtual
like
one.
Like an exit meeting or whatever?
Basically, where reporters get to ask questions.
Sure.
So Dubas was there, the GM, and Shanahan actually came too, the CEO/president. And Kyle Dubas was a little irritated, which we've never seen before. He was I don't know. He was almost attacking the media in some
attacking the media.
Kind of. He was saying, "I don't know why you guys are all on about Mitch Marner and blah blah and all the stuff I read." And it's very clear that Kyle Dubas reads Twitter a lot because he was upset about it, and he needs, like, part of that job is to not get upset about that. Like,
well, yeah,
like you just can't.
He's of a different generation than most GMs.
That's right.
So,
and a lot of people are obviously lashing out because Toronto was expected to win. Like, we even said that they had to win that series.
Totally.
So it's okay for the fans to be upset. Like, they have the right to be upset.
Absolutely.
You have a great team on paper that's trying to build a team in a different style than almost every other team. Like, they're trying to win with just pure skill. And it's starting to look like pure skill doesn't cut it. You need a little bit of toughness. You need a little bit of balance. You need a little bit of depth.
No, he shouldn't be deflecting. He should have some accountability. And maybe he didn't in the rest of the thing. I don't know. I didn't see it.
I thought Shanahan handled it way better.
Yeah.
Like, he definitely had the right attitude of saying, we need to take a step back. And a lot of it was like the typical stuff you heard. But in terms of like cliche stuff that you would expect to hear from Dubas, like, he was like on the offensive and / defense a lot of it. Like, just he came out and like personally defended Mitch Marner, which is fine because Mitch Marner is a good player. I mean, I don't think anybody's debating that Mitch Marner is not a good player. They're just saying that you have, half of your salary cap tied up in 4 people.
And this was a discussion 4 years ago.
That's right. But the advantage of it, or not the advantage, but the one thing that made it okay was the salary cap was going to go up, which means those contracts values are actually going to go down,
right? Percentage wise.
Now that the cap's going to be flat for 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest criticism is they don't have that sandpaper.
That's right.
Kind of stuff.
And I mean, he's tried to bring in a couple people like that. Like, he brought in Jake Muzzin and I think Clifford.
Yeah.
But
he sent out Kadri.
The Kadri trade was horrible. And almost everyone that I've heard like speak to it, like reporter wise, has said that. There was one guy on Sportsnet that defended it on the radio station. It's like, buddy, you cannot defend this. Like, they basically just got rid of him because they had to. It was 2 suspensions in a row against the Bruins and the team lost.
Yep.
But
he was unreliable as far as discipline.
Yeah.
So there's no choice. I had to get rid of him.
Yeah.
But he was that gritty piece that is a difference maker in playoff games. Unfortunately, the last 2 years he was with Toronto, it was in a negative way, but he has the ability to do it in a positive way. So it was a big loss for Toronto.
Yeah.
And they didn't really replace him.
So anyway, I just thought it was intense that we've seen it a little bit different of Kyle Dubas. And last year when they had the exit meetings, Kyle Dubas said, this is on me. This is my TV. Like,
yep.
So, I mean, we're a year later, and you've already taken responsibility for it last year. You got rid of the coach, so you have your guy in there now.
Exactly.
Like, you have to take this heat, and you have to be able to take this heat. Like,
you made changes with the players and the coaching staff.
That is the job. Like, yeah, it's a high-stress job. It's a whatever job, but it's also got perks. You are literally the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's a pretty high, intense place to be where lots of people want to be. So, yeah, you have to be able to take the good with the bad. And, like, it's your job to be able to, coast those waters or whatever.
It's the highest profile job in Canada within the hockey market.
For sure. It's one of the most high profile jobs, I'd say, in North America.
Yep, I agree. In the sports world.
Yeah.
And in hockey world, for sure.
So I just thought that was a little bit interesting that we saw that. And a lot of people were, like, a lot of, like, the shows that you listen to, they kind of, like, took offense to him kind of being offensive / defensive, saying, like, well,
They probably like it though because it gives them something to talk about.
Oh yeah. So anyway, that's that. Before we jump into anything else, I want to talk about this John Shannon quote. I want to see what you think about it. I wish your dad was here so he could give his opinion on it too. So John Shannon went on Twitter. He used to work for Sportsnet. Sportsnet had a new CEO come in. They let a lot of their broadcasters / radio people go, like Bob McCown, John Shannon, like a whole whack of them got canned. Basically, Kiprios, McLean, all of the old school long-term people who had been there for a long time.
Which a lot of people really like.
That were probably getting paid a lot.
Yes.
They got moved out. So John Shannon, I don't know what he's doing right now. He's gone on Bob McCown's podcast a couple times. But anyway, he used to be the producer of Hockey Night in Canada before he worked for Sportsnet, or before Sportsnet took that over, whatever. He basically put a tweet out there saying he was disappointed with Rogers and the NHL for not having a Canadian team play on Saturday night because it's Hockey Night in Canada,
which was last night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
I didn't watch any games really last night.
I watched the Boston one and I watched the Vegas one, part of it.
I watched the earlier game, a bit of it, the Columbus-Tampa game. But if there was a Canadian team playing later in the night, there's a decent chance that I might have tuned in a little bit. But I just don't have a lot of interest with a couple of the games that were on late last night, so I didn't tune in. So when he first tweeted this, I thought, well, I don't think it really matters that much. But yesterday, I'm like, why isn't there a Canadian? Like,
yeah, it's
weird.
There's
supposed to be a Canadian team.
It's literally Hockey Night in Canada Saturday night. That's just how it's been forever.
Yeah. So I kind of agree in a way with him now, but I didn't originally.
And I mean, there was teams to show. Like, it's not like, there was only one Canadian team in the playoffs. So
yeah, there's 4.
There's a few.
Is there?
There's 3 at least.
Vancouver, Montreal,
Calgary.
That's
probably it.
I guess that's it.
But still, 3. That's you could get one of those 3 teams playing on a Saturday at some point, or Saturday night.
Exactly.
So anyway, I'm kind of with him on that. It is what it is. I thought this was interesting though.
Yep.
All right. A lot of stuff happened on Monday. This is one of the things that happened on Monday, literally right after we put our podcast out. So Dale Talon is leaving / was fired from the Florida Panthers. Mutual.
He was there for a while.
He was there for quite a while, yeah.
About a decade, I think.
10 years.
10 years. Oh, yeah, you have it written down. 10 years.
Made the playoff 3 of those 10 years, but did not win a playoff series.
Got close once.
Yep.
In the Islanders series.
He was responsible for drafting Huberdeau, Barkov, Ekblad. Those are definitely the cornerstone players.
He did some pretty good things.
Yeah.
But he also...
You know what people were talking about yesterday? Not to off topic this a little bit.
What's up?
They're saying that Toronto may want to make a deal with Florida for Ekblad. They think Florida's going to go into salary mode and try to dump a little bit to save some money, and they think they can ship off like a Nylander and some other stuff to pull an Ekblad back.
I assume that Ekblad has a no movement clause.
I don't know. I thought that was interesting. I was like,
look that up.
I don't know, because I guess Nylander is only owed like, I don't know what it is. They were talking like we are. I don't know if they were right on. They said something like $20 million on the remaining 4 or 5 years because he was paid up front big time. So his cap hit is close to 7, but it's actually cash that has to be paid is like $2 million less a year.
Yeah.
So that could be attractive to some teams because if you're already not at the cap, aka Florida, you're getting a $7 million player almost for 5 or high 4s.
What message does that send to the rest of the organization though when you trade your captain and your staple defenseman? And I just looked up his contract here. He does not have a no movement clause until 21-22.
I guess it's what are they doing next year?
I don't know. I think that's just the wrong message to send. Like Ekblad is.
Like I said, those are cornerstone players. Like I don't know how the fan base would feel about that.
I would be pissed.
Roberto Luongo was brought back.
Yep.
And was a big part in bringing Joel Quenneville in, I guess.
He's also responsible for sending out Gallant as well.
So Dale Talon's, what's up with that?
Yeah, what's up with that?
I'm still sour over that.
Yep.
So he was his contract expired over July 1st, but because of COVID and stuff, it was extended to allow the playoff run to happen. And then once they were eliminated, it was decided we're not bringing you back. So, and here's a quote from the owner, Vincent Viola. He just said, "For the last decade, Dale raised the team's profile, attracted key players to South Florida, and brought character and class to our franchise. When we purchased the Panthers in 2013, we did so with a singular goal to win a Stanley Cup. We have not seen our efforts come to fruition. We will now begin an organizational search for the next general manager." So,
does that mean it's coming within the organization, or does it mean the whole organization is going to be involved in the search?
I think if this happens sooner than later, and if it's someone from within, I think we know what route they're going. They're going for the cheap route. Because if you're upgrading someone you already have, you're doing that on the cheaps probably. If you're bringing someone in that's
you're gonna have to pay.
an NHL caliber GM, you're gonna pay for that, or you're gonna bring up someone from some team's affiliate and not pay him that much.
Exactly.
But it's still an opportunity to be a GM in the league, so a lot of people will take it.
Yeah, you're probably right there. Yeah.
But it does say on my notes that they do think they are going to look outside, so we'll hopefully that does happen. And then, like I said earlier, Luongo is expected to remain. He was brought in as a special advisor to Talon, but he's definitely not going to be a GM candidate. Obviously,
too early, I think.
Way too early.
Too early.
You have to be on that side.
You need to be in the business side for at least probably 3 or 4 years.
Oh yeah, you can't just be a goalie and then special advisor and then
that's
jump
not taking anything away from Luongo. It doesn't matter what name is in that position.
I think he would know that too.
Yes.
Speaking of shakeups, 2 days later, the Penguins cleaned house.
They did indeed. This is a big one.
We got to give a shout out to Justin here.
So we were actually supposed to have Justin on this podcast. And
this is my fault that he's not on this podcast.
It didn't work out, which is a bit unfortunate, but. This whole Pittsburgh thing, and I think Justin made a video about this. And Justin, if you're watching, I didn't watch your video. No offense. I just don't watch a lot of other hockey YouTubers stuff when they specifically talk about topics because I don't want to copy them. But if I remember correctly, earlier this season, it was before Christmas, when Pittsburgh was struggling a little bit. I'm pretty sure Justin tweeted out that he liked or he was comfortable with Sullivan, but he wasn't sure about the cast around Sullivan. So that's Recchi, that's Gonchar, that's Jacques Martin.
Big names.
I'm pretty sure it was Justin. Maybe I'm wrong. But look what happened now. Sullivan stayed and the supporting cast went. So Justin, if it was you, massive kudos to you for basically predicting that before mid-season. So that's impressive. But yeah, that's the news.
So it shows confidence in the coach, but it also shows, okay, we're getting rid of all these guys. You're up next.
I wonder if Sullivan had a say in that.
I don't know.
Because
here's what I think. I think any coach that wins you that many cups in that short period of time, I don't think you get to fire him.
I think
after like a couple years where the team doesn't play as well as you think.
I think he's a good coach. I think he's become a little bit stubborn in the past year and not maybe willing to make specific changes or make the decision that seems obvious but isn't being made.
Well, I think Crosby's even come out and said the team's just getting older and the window's closing. Like that's not on the coach, that's on the GM. Like you have to.
There's an aging core there. So it's interesting though, because if this happened on any other team, you'd be like, okay, well, there's nothing really to say as far as who the names are because maybe you're not familiar with some of the assistant coaches. Mm-hmm. That's usually how it is. But in Pittsburgh's situation, Mark Recchi is one of the best NHL players ever. Sergei Gonchar, one of the best defensemen ever, and Jacques Martin, who was a coach of multiple teams in the like these are high profile names that have been just tossed out of that organization. So.
And maybe Justin was right. Maybe they're high profile names. Maybe the first two that you said, maybe they're not quite.
Yeah, maybe that's
what
why
they
are
behind the bench that they were as players.
Yeah,
like you had them there for their name and for who they were and for what they did for you. But maybe when they make that switch over, they're not as effective as you're hoping.
I think they would be great leaders, but maybe they just couldn't translate that to coaching or managing. So I don't know, but
like if you're good at defense or if you're good at forwards, does that mean you're going to be a good offensive coach or defensive coach, and that's what you're in charge with? Like that doesn't necessarily translate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Mark Recchi was a really good two-way forward.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be great at running the offense, though.
Totally, because the game's changed.
That's right.
As well. So what Mark Recchi does know is extremely valuable, but it's from a different time. Like the game has changed immensely just in the past 7-8 years. It's so much more fast now. There's rules have changed a little bit, so I mean maybe that's part of it as well. So it's I kind of like that the decision that they made though. I think this was the right one, keeping Sullivan on.
Yeah. I'm just reading through Rutherford's quote. It's pretty much just kosher.
Yeah, it's fairly normal.
He basically said they underperformed in the playoffs and that they need a change in the dynamic of the coaching staff. Very high standards, obviously, in Pittsburgh, especially after winning all those cups.
Yep.
He said the message to our fans, I'll say this, is we are not rebuilding, we're retooling. And other than that, it was just pretty much the pleasantries that they say when
people get just a normal
Like, you could absolutely hate a guy that works for you and fire him, and then you're going to give him a nice message saying all of the good things he did for your team just so that he has a chance.
Would you prefer that, or would you prefer just to, hear the truth? Like, we fired this person because they didn't do this, or because they treated a certain player this way. Like, this isn't acceptable, and they're gone. I
think if they get fired for an unacceptable thing, it's fine. I think if it's their performance that you're not happy with, I think it's okay to write a good message, because that does give them a chance to get another job.
When you apply for a job and then you include references, do you think that Mark Recchi goes to apply for another job in the NHL, whether it's assistant coach, whether it's whatever, do you think that team calls Pittsburgh and asks, how was this guy for real?
I think they do.
I think they do as well.
Yeah.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
They'd be silly not to.
Also, next page. You on here? Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, big one. Claude Julien, hospitalized chest pains.
This just came out of nowhere, basically.
Big where?
It was after the game
that
they lost. It was the first game. And this is really concerning, because they said that it's not COVID related, which is great, but he had to have a stent inserted or whatever, and he's going to go home. The doctors expect him to make a full recovery, and he won't be back, I think, for the series or something like that.
Yeah, they said he won't be back for the series.
But I'm thinking,
if they win this series, I don't think he's going to be back at all.
Well, I don't know if he's going to be back ever.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking, okay, well, clearly this man is in a high stress environment.
Yes.
On a multiple,
in a market that is high stress.
Sometimes on a daily basis, sometimes on a, bi-daily, whatever basis, depending on when the team plays. Like, he's in a very high stress situation, which may have led to what happened or whatever. So are you really going to put him back into that scenario? Is he going to put himself back into that scenario? Like, he's got a family? Like, I don't think we will see him back as a coach. Just because of that. Like, something like that really makes you think about your your life progression and stuff. Like, is it worth?
I mean, he's an older guy.
He's an older guy.
He's been around a long time. He doesn't need the money. He just likes doing it.
He's a good coach for the most part. I think we'll see him announce his retirement, because I don't think he would make that decision to come back knowing that he could potentially lead to more problems in the future. I think his doctor likely recommended that he not be put into stressful situations where
which that job totally is. So Kirk Mueller's going to take over the coaching duties,
which he did for game 2, which they won 5-0.
He did all right. Okay, I hate to off topic a little bit. Did you see the people accuse Montreal of overdoing it with the 5 goals?
I did see
that. By disrespecting.
What's your thoughts on that?
No, it's playoffs. You do what you got to do.
Alain Vigneault was the one.
Was it?
Who publicly said that.
I didn't know that. I thought it was just people online. It was him. No.
He was.
Listen, this playoffs, you do not.
Here's the thing about Montreal. Their power play sucks, okay? So it wasn't, I think it was not so much of, let's keep putting nails in the coffin. It was, okay, this power play needs work. Here's a really good opportunity.
I don't find 5-0 is nails in the coffin. If it's 9-1...
Yeah.
Maybe.
5-0 doesn't really mean a lot.
How many games have we seen with three goals happen in the last 4 minutes there's been 2 of them, I think, just this playoffs.
I really like Alain Vigneault, but Bud, take the loss and move on.
Yeah. Like, your team didn't show up, don't take it out on Montreal pounding you, because
come on.
You have hockey. The option, just play harder.
Exactly, play harder.
Yeah, no. If it, like I said, if it was 9-0, 9-1, 8-0, maybe 5 goals, no way.
Absolutely.
Like, your playoffs, you've already missed 4 months of play. Like, you have to. You're basically playing, but you're practicing at the same time. You're refining your craft
and conditioning
in playoffs.
Yeah.
So you have to go all the time.
All the time.
That's my opinion.
I completely agree.
Okay. I'm going to jump down to this one first.
Sure.
So the Providence Bruins announced the creation of the Colby Cave Memorial Award,
which is a really good idea.
They're partnering with his family and the Boston Bruins Foundation to honor his commitment to helping those in need. I guess he was like super community oriented, like it was low profile. Like I think there's lots of people in the league that are like that. They do a lot of stuff that nobody knows about. It's just kind of on the side, because I think Mitch Marner is one of those people, and they talked about that.
Yep. Mitch Marner actually does quite a bit off the ice.
Yeah, they said the award will be presented each season to a deserving Providence Bruins player for the dedication to the community and charitable organizations. He did play 5 seasons with the Providence Bruins. He played a few with Boston. He played 2, I think, with Edmonton. And I think the last year, like this year, I think he was actually playing for their AHL affiliate. I think he was put down. But
Bakersfield Condors, I think it was.
Yeah.
Or something.
So he passed away on April 11th from an acute obstructive hydrocephalus due to a colloid cyst in the brain, which is kind of super intense and super sad and super like out of the blue. Like
it's not really something that you're like.
No, it's like you have something wrong with your brain and then it's too late.
Yeah, it's just like instant, basically, which is crazy.
So it's really sad for the family. It's good to see this is being done. I believe the Bruins have little hearts on their helmets with the number 25 in them, just to kind of honor him. So that's good to see that. All right, so next we got to talk about the Hurricanes coach Rod Brind'Amour being fined $25,000 for his crime scene comment. So
did you see Carolina tweet out the picture of the check?
Yes,
that they wrote. That's funny.
Yeah, I can't remember what they said too. It was like money well spent or something like that. Or So let's get into this. So this all happened because of a play that happened. What game was it? 2?
Game 2, I believe.
Where basically the coach Rod Brind'Amour called a play for a hand pass.
He had not.
So basically, there was a lot going on in front of the net. It looked like the puck went off of the hand of one of the Boston players. It got knocked down. The goalie covers it. He has it covered. And then the Boston player kind of pulls it out from under his glove and then backhands it in the net. And he's just like, that's not a goal. So he challenges it for goaltender interference, in quotes. So anyways, the ref comes over and says, you have to pick one. And he goes, what do you mean you have to pick one? He says, you either pick it's a hand pass or it's goaltender interference. You can't challenge both on one play. And he goes, well, if it's a hand pass, that means he hand passed it to another player and then he put it in. So that's no goal. If it's a goaltender interference, it's goaltender interference and that's no goal. So it doesn't matter which one I pick. It's both goaltender interference. So he goes for the hand pass.
Yeah.
So it goes for review and they say, oh no, Mrazek had control. So the hand pass, which was there, it kind of gets knocked down from the air. Mrazek covers it. And then it looked like the Boston player almost puts his stick under his glove, pulls it out from his glove and then backhands it in. So anyway, the goal counts.
So if you had
and they take a penalty. So Brind'Amour is furious.
It's ridiculous. I completely agree with him. Like, where do you stand? We haven't talked about this, so.
No, that was no goal.
Like,
I don't know how. Okay.
It makes the NHL look so bad.
Okay, here's what I will say about it. When you look at it in slow motion, it looks way worse than fast motion.
I agree.
Because it looks like he has it covered for a long time and the puck squats loose. In fast motion, he basically covers it, and the second it's covered, it's back out again.
Yes.
So he in terms of what the ref said to the coach, if he has possession of it, technically that should have been a whistle.
And technically,
if a goalie's got possession and his glove is over the puck, the puck's not in play anymore, right?
At least they could have at least thought about blowing the whistle.
Now, it would have been a super fast whistle, which generally speaking does not happen. Usually just wait like a second.
Correct.
So that's the only kind of crack in this I see. But I'm 90% that shouldn't have been a goal.
Yeah.
Like when I watched that live, I was like, that's not a goal.
Either it's a goal or it's not a goal. Why is a coach being forced to pick a certain scenario?
Because based on the rules, you can't investigate the entirely play that led up to that goal. You have to pick, is it a hand pass or is it goaltender interference?
But that's the problem. That alone makes the NHL look bad. So...
And this was called by the ref upstairs, which you and your dad and I have been advocating for.
Yes.
He called that ref out, saying he has no business being up there.
Yes.
Which is intense.
Which is a bold thing to say. So he was fined $25,000. But he's right. Like he's right. If the system is broken in the NHL for that to even happen, and it makes the NHL look even worse when they give him a slap on the wrist for it. When they know they're wrong. Like clearly it's a broken system. But someone criticizes it, so you have to fine them? Like, give me a break. $25,000 is nothing to them, but still.
All right, folks. We've had to cut this twice because one time a bathroom ran and the second one a phone ran. So I apologize. This may be a little janky, but we're gonna keep going with it. Okay, so I want to read you some Brind'Amour quotes because they're pretty good.
They are good.
So he says, he comes to me and says, pick one. I'm like, well, it's one of the two. There's obviously no way that can be a goal. It's like I said before. He's putting on me to pick it. Well, you tell me what you're calling. Are you calling that he had it? Then it's an effing goalie interference. Like, did the goalie have it? Because if he did, it's goalie interference. If you're saying he didn't have it, if you're not telling me what call you're making and I have to pick one, and then they go upstairs and say, oh, he had possession, it's horse crap in the not nice way to say that. This is where the league is a joke. Bam, there's your fine right there.
That's the kicker right there. Yeah.
And then this is what he said about the overhead refs that we kind of advocate for here on this podcast. So the guys up there that aren't putting any sweat equity into this game decide the game. It's wrong. He doesn't tell me what the call on the ice is. If it's not a glove hand pass, I would have said, okay, then that's effing goalie interference. And he's right.
He's totally right.
You have to know what they're calling.
Yes. It's a ridiculous system.
Like, how can you challenge something if you don't know what you're challenging?
Yeah.
That's what a challenge is. You're challenging the call on the ice, but he had to make the challenge before they told him what they were calling.
It's unbelievable. And if the NHL doesn't make an adjustment to this system in the offseason, like it makes them look so bad. Like, we cannot run into a situation like this again in the playoffs. Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
All right, up next, we have the 5 overtime game. Yes, that was this week too.
You were not home. I don't remember where
I was at the lake.
Yeah, and I was like texting you, 3rd overtime, 4th overtime.
I couldn't believe that game was still on. It started at 4 o'clock in the afternoon our time.
Yeah, I was still at work when that started. And I think it ended around just before 11 or something like that.
Yeah, it was like it was around 11.
I can't remember, but it was unbelievable.
It was 150 minutes and 27 seconds.
Over almost 2.5 games, or about 2.5 games of
crazy
of hockey.
So yeah, obviously this is the Tampa Bay Columbus game 1. 151 total shots, 88 by Tampa, 63 by Columbus, 92 block shots, 105 hits, 4th longest game in NHL playoffs.
Yep.
And then your boy Corpusalo sets the NHL all-time save record with 85.
Defeats Kelly Rudy's record.
Yep.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Jeff Merrick said as soon as that happened, he texted him. Jeff Merrick has those stats in his head. Like,
yeah,
Jeff Merrick is amazing. And then obviously the big news for me was that Boston was supposed to play their game at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
This was pushing on to 11 o'clock, and it was like, okay, are we going to play at midnight here? Like, what's going on? And then they finally postponed the game, which really sucks for the two teams having to postpone. Like, they're sitting getting ready all day, ready to go at 9. Okay, we're going to wait till 10. Okay, we're going to wait till 11. And then, oh no, you're not going at all now.
Yeah, so they had to play the next day, I think at noon-ish, which means there was 3 games happening that day in that arena, which means the 3rd game that was happening, the ice was probably pretty bad. I can't remember what game it was.
Yeah. But
that first game, I think that Boston-Carolina game went to overtime, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it did, because the Carolina Hurricanes Twitter game was on point that night. It was like, hey, they were like tagging the NHL, like, hey, NHL, we got a game coming up, but these guys won't get off the ice. Yeah. And then when the Carolina game went into overtime, the NHL tweeted back, like, hey, we got a game coming up between these two. You guys need to get off the ice. So it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So speaking of that 5 OT game, let's talk about Mike Milbury, who was clearly not happy to be there that long.
No, God forbid.
He was talking about how he had, like, during the broadcast, I think he was talking about how he had a dinner date to go to, and he didn't want to miss it or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, no, Mike Milbury.
Sorry, Mike.
So anyway, he puts, and I think this is intentional. I don't think this guy's stupid. This guy knows Toronto. He's been in the league forever.
You think this was intentional?
I think this was intentional.
I think it's a troll?
I think this is a huge troll. And from everything I've listened to about people talk online, like on other shows, they think it is too.
Maybe, but he's still an idiot.
Oh, no, like totally. He says another worldly night. This is the tweet he puts out. He's got a picture. I didn't print it.
A really blurry picture.
A really blurry picture of the CN Tower, like at night, like because that game went on so long. And he, like,
yeah,
I understand the game was supposed to start at 3 Eastern, and it didn't get done to like 10 something. He says on another worldly night, the Space Needle is an appropriate backdrop. So a huge shade thrown at Toronto. Like, okay, what? That's the CN Tower, not the Space Needle. Insane Columbus Tampa Bay game. God bless both teams for a great effort. Enough, though. I believe we should end these games sooner via 3-on-3 or shootout after a time. What do you think? He got some mega heat.
I think the what do you think at the end is what proves he's trolling here.
Yeah. And it's funny because people were going on about the Space Needle, and like, if you listen to the 31 Thoughts podcast, that's the first thing they talk about is the Space Needle. If you listen to Goose Show on Sportsnet, that's the first thing they talked about. I was like, no way, this is a story. And like every single show that I listened to after that happened, that's what they opened with.
Yeah, wow.
But it's like Elliot Friedman said, the underlying thing to this message is not what he's saying. It's how disgruntled he was that he had to wait that long to get out of there. Like, he's clearly just a guy that doesn't want to be at work that long, and he has to be there.
There's a couple of people that I dislike in the sports world. I don't know if there's anyone more that I dislike than Mike Milbury. I have no use for him whatsoever in any capacity.
And we're going to get back to him later in the podcast,
He said, yeah, he's an idiot again. But we'll get to that in a little bit.
So I thought that was funny. That set Twitter on fire when he put that, because there's just so much in there.
Yeah.
Like another worldly night. And then the Space Needle. Not having regular overtime in the playoffs. Switching to 3-on-3 and shootouts, which nobody wants.
Yeah, no one wants that.
and then the underlying message of him just not being happy that he had to work that long. Like that is one of the greatest tweets this year. It's so good. I love it.
Like it makes me angry, but it's
like if you analyze it, like I laughed when you first sent that to me, but then when I actually like looked at it and took all the little parts out of it like that, like I don't think he's a smart man, but this tweet is genius, and I don't think if it was accidental or on purpose. Like it can't be on purpose.
If it was intentional, it's a genius tweet.
There is so much in this tweet.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Speaking of, I guess not speaking of, but some bad news here, I think. Bob McKenzie going into semi-retirement from TSN. Bob McKenzie, as far as I'm concerned, was the first insider in the NHL.
Yeah, if I don't know how much exposure Bob McKenzie gets in the United States or internationally.
I think he gets a lot because if you read like city pages, like city sports pages, like Boston, like in Arizona or Boston, like when something big happens, they'll quote Bob McKenzie. Like Bob McKenzie's well known.
He's an amazing sports mind.
He started the Hockey Insider.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's a lot of them now. I would argue that Elliot Friedman is bigger than him now.
I agree.
Elliot Friedman talked about him a little bit. Normally, they don't do that on their own shows because TSN and Sportsnet are basically rivals.
Yeah.
So they don't really mention each other. But on the 31 Thoughts podcast, he did talk about it. He said, all the insiders, like he talked about, like Drager and all of them, like they're all friendly. He said sometimes they don't get along because they're all trying to publish a story first. Like that's the business they're in, that they compete.
Absolutely.
But when they go to places, they have dinners together and stuff. And he gave a lot of good comments to Bob. And, before Elliot Friedman got big, Bob McKenzie was it for me. Like he was the man
for a long time, very long time. Yeah. But he's getting old.
40 years he's been doing this.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
He was supposed to. This is the Stanley Cup final game this year was supposed to be his last day until he went on to lighter duties, but because of COVID and all that, he decided like, nope. After the draft lottery with New York winning, that's it. So he's done for the rest of this technical playoffs. He's going on vacation. You're not going to see him on any of those shows.
He's an amazing journalist.
Oh yeah.
He's one of the journalists that he doesn't let his personal opinions affect what he reports. He's very level-headed.
Which is how it should be.
He's an amazing journalist.
Yeah.
He's incredible.
And I believe his son is a scout too or something.
I think so, yeah. His son is involved in hockey, if I'm not mistaken.
So anyway, he's got a new 5-year contract with TSN. It's not going to be anywhere close to what he's doing now. He's basically going to cover the World Junior Championships, which is good because the World Junior Championships are always good. He's going to do the draft rankings 3 times per year. So he's going to be really into the younger players coming up. He's going to pop up on the trade deadline day and the free agent things. So he probably won't be one of the insiders that's always working in the background, but he's going to give his opinions on stuff, which is good.
Yeah.
And then he's going to do a handful of Leaf regional games and some NBC games, as well as some of the 2020 and 2021 NHL drafts.
That's cool.
So I'd say after next year, when he's not doing that other stuff, he's basically going to be focused on the younger people.
Yep.
Okay, this is a pretty big story here.
It
turned into be a crapshoot, really.
It's the whole page.
Yeah, literally this took up the whole page. I couldn't fit anything on it. So Tuukka Rask. I'm sure everyone here knows by now what's going on.
He's gone.
So let's give the whole picture here. So after game 2, he was up on the interview desk with someone else. I can't remember who he was with. And he just put comments about saying how it doesn't feel like it's playoff games. He said it's not intense. It's, there's no crowd. He said when you're at home or when you're in away, there's crowd yelling at you, crowd backing you, it gets you going.
Yeah, he said there's a couple of spurts of coast to coast hockey, but other than that, it's.
He said it's kind of like playing an exhibition game. That's what the quote is.
Yes, an exhibition.
It said definitely not a playoff atmosphere out there. You try to play as hard as you can. When you're playing at a home rink, the fans are cheering against you. It creates a buzz for the series. There's none of that. It just feels dull. And then it says there are moments when there are scrums and whatnot, and then there are 5 minutes when it's coast-to-coast hockey. That's not atmosphere, so it feels like an exhibition game. And he didn't say it. Like, if you read this quote, it sounds like he's kind of like whining about it not being intense. But if you actually listen to the tone of his voice, he's just answering a question. He's like, and he's like me. He's like using this kind of like high voice. Like, it just doesn't feel like a playoff game out there. He's not upset, and he's not mad that it doesn't feel like a playoff game. He's just saying it doesn't feel like a playoff game.
Well, it's funny. Like, there's a lot of people criticizing me over this. And like,
oh yeah, he's getting torn.
Like number one, we're not there.
No.
So who are we to tell an NHL player how to feel in a situation that we aren't even in ourselves? Mm-hmm. And number two, if you actually think about it, there's nothing he's saying that's wrong.
Nope.
Of course he's like,
yeah.
This is like, I don't understand how people are upset by this.
They're trying to fake it so that it seems more normal, like the EA noise, crowd noise and stuff. Like there's a lot of fake production work going into, like if they're just out there playing and it's just, there's no one else around.
Like the fans are a big part of it.
Yeah. So the team put on Twitter just a couple hours actually before the third game that his statement. And it said, I want to be with my teammates competing, but at this moment there are things more important than hockey in my life, and that is being with my family. I want to thank the Bruins and my teammates for their support and wish them success. So when I first seen that, I was like, what the frig?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can you just go away?
I was surprised by it. I didn't see it coming, that's for sure.
Don Sweeney went up and talked to reporters, and I felt a lot different about the situation after I listened to him, though. So this is something that I guess he's been contemplating for 3 weeks, and he's been struggling with it.
Yep.
He has a newborn that was just born, I believe, in April or May, so only a few months old, and also has 2 younger daughters.
Mm-hmm.
So his wife at home in Finland is dealing with 2 young kids and a baby by herself.
That's right.
In COVID, in a pandemic.
And he left.
I'm thinking the wife said, you better get home and help me out here, or you ain't going to come home to a family.
That might be part of it. I don't know if it was that extreme, but...
like, she probably did say she needed help, and he probably felt like he needed to be there.
Family comes before hockey.
Totally. And people had that option.
Absolutely.
So
there are some people
we're going to get to the Mike Milbury quote here in a minute. I'm actually going to play it for you guys because I want you to hear it. People are talking in a way as if it would have been better if he just didn't come in the first place. Like he just was like some other players and said, nope, this isn't for me. I got obligations to my family. I'm going to stay home. He struggled with it. And he said, no, I'm going to come and try. How is that worse than not coming at all?
I know. I don't understand.
But people are treating it like it is.
I don't understand. Why are people upset by this? Like, it's a family decision.
That's right. And this is a pandemic. Like, people are...
I don't get it.
I think people forget that, especially if you're in the States. Like, no offense, but people are going about their business as if things are normal.
I know.
Things are not normal right now, people. Like,
it's not normal at All.
So, yeah, Don Sweeney said, we've been talking for 3 weeks. He said, he even said it on the microphone. He said, you know, this did not come as a surprise to us. We've been aware. Like, we're obviously privy to more information for you. This was a really tough decision for him. And the team supports it 100%. Like, the team's not mad. The players aren't mad.
No, I don't understand how... This kind of goes back to the other thing we talked about, but who are we to criticize someone else's decision when their decision is based on their own personal family?
That's right.
Like, we should have no opinion.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I think it's ridiculous.
People are so polarized now. It's scary, man. Like, I don't know.
It's about that. There's such a huge teardown culture right now.
Oh, huge.
And they see that and they're like, okay, well, time to make him feel bad.
It's like, yeah, he's quitting the team. I'll tell you how I feel.
Yep. Which in turn makes them feel better about themselves.
Like, you think he feels good about leaving his team? Like, regardless of what the fans will think? Like, he's been thinking about it for 3 weeks.
Very frustrating.
And I don't blame him. If I had a new baby at home and 2 little girls, and then I just had a wife kind of, her trying to deal with that by herself, like...
I think Tuukka Rask is a true man for doing that.
Well, yeah.
True man.
And
good on him.
Boston, luckily, has a decent backup in Halak. Like, they're not out of...
Yeah, well, clearly it worked because they won yesterday's game.
So, he did say the family is safe. Some people were saying that maybe something went wrong with the family. Don Sweeney did say the family is safe, but there was also another tweet that went out by someone who knows Tuukka Rask really well, and he's like, I don't know if he's close to the team or he was working on a book or something, but they said that he was called back on an emergency, like he had to go back. So
maybe it could be
there's conflicting information there, like maybe just
a parent or something
like I said, maybe the wife was just saying, I can't do this by myself anymore. I really need you to come back, and he said, all right. Yeah, let's talk about Mike Milbury's comments.
Yeah, he had some things to discuss say about this. Of course he did.
I want to play that clip. So I'm going to play it right now. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, play it.
Okay, here's what Mike Milbury had to say on one of the intermissions on NBC.
This puts Tuukka Rask in a unique, if unusual position. Others have opted not to enter the bubble, most with health reasons, but others have left the bubble for childbirth or for health reasons or various reasons, but nobody has simply opted to just leave the bubble because they didn't want to be here and they needed to be with their family. I would not have done it. The rest of the league's players have not done it. I think this will be in a city that hasn't really embraced Tuukka Rask despite his success, a city that I grew up in. I played and coached there for 20 years and live there now. This is going to be a difficult decision to swallow for Boston Bruins fans.
I like how he makes it about himself.
Why is he making it about himself? A, and why is he attacking Tuukka Rask? B, like clearly he has a problem with Tuukka Rask. There's a clip from 2015 where he says he doesn't trust Tuukka Rask and all this stuff. So I think he just doesn't like the guy. Period.
Yeah, I think so too. Like first thing he said, well, I wouldn't have done it, which already means I'm better than Tuukka Rask.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done it. None of the other players have done it. But lots of other players have opted out before.
Yeah.
And lots of people opted out before because of their family.
Yeah.
Like the reason he's leaving. Like he's trying to make it sound like Tuukka's quitting on the team because he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah. Used to play for the team, used to coach the team, live there
now. What
Okay.
Do you think about Tuukka leaving? It's like, oh, well, in a city that hasn't really embraced him. It's like, why are you doing this to the guy?
What a donkey. What an absolute donkey.
How is he still employed by NBC is my question.
Unbelievable. Speaking of being employed by NBC.
Okay. We're going to get to that.
More tweets we're going to read.
So, in the Bruins game, obviously Halak played and he did win. But Svechnikov got tangled up pretty bad with Chara. They were kind of going back and forth like this, and he fell, and his knee kind of went one way, and his leg went one way, and his body went the other way. It did not look good at all.
Did you see my tweet?
I did not see your tweet.
So if you've seen the play though, right?
Oh yeah, I watched the play.
So that is literally the exact same thing that happened to me.
Yeah.
The way that the leg went, the way the ankle went, the way that he fell on top of it. That's how I shattered my ankle. Like if you could have put me in that
100%.
uniform, that is literally exactly how I broke my ankle.
And when they carried him off the ice, he wasn't putting a single bit of weight on it.
Now, because he had a skate on, I don't think his ankle dislocated like mine did. So if he did break his ankle, I don't think it's going to be as severe.
Do you think it's an ankle or a knee?
I think it's knee because the ankle didn't have enough room to bend because of the skate. So I think it's probably going to be an ACL situation, which I think connects the upper leg muscle through the knee to the lower leg muscle or something. I'm not smart, but
one of the Carolina players did an interview after the game, and one of the because they're basically standing in a room by themselves, and they're being piped questions from people who aren't there, right?
Yes.
And someone asked him how he was after the game, and he said, "Well, when we went into the room, he wasn't there."
Yeah, it's going to be a serious injury. If he did break his ankle, it's probably not going to be as severe as mine was because of the skate, which is really good news for Svechnikov. But just in terms of me personally, I was on bed rest for 2 months. It took me about 3 or 4 months afterwards. So I'm about 6 months in before I started to actually walk without a limp and be totally normal. Clearly, he has better facilities and doctors than I did and care. So that will be accelerated a bit for him. But still, it's going to be, if he did break his ankle, it's going to be a minimum of 8 months before he's able to play again. Stamkos went through the same thing. He broke his ankle as well. So, yeah, I don't know. I have. This is actually interesting because I tried my skates on for the first time since my injury a couple of days ago before this even happened.
Could you get it on?
I could get it on fine, but because I have 3 metal plates and 14 screws in my ankle's it's visibly bigger. Like you've seen it. It looks like it's swollen a little bit, and it still is a little bit as well. It is uncomfortable in the skate for sure, but I think I could skate on it. I didn't skate this last winter because I felt it was maybe a bit too risky, but I think I could now. Like it feels pretty good now. I put the skate on. Skate felt good, so yeah, I think it could happen. So 8 months minimum. I'm thinking for if it's a broken ankle, I think it's 8 months minimum.
Wow. All right, so here is what Coach Brindamore had to say after that game. Someone was asking him about how the team's going to rebound for Game 4, and he actually had a hard time answering the question because all he could think about was Svechnikov. He said, right now it's tough because you see a kid go down. That injury looks really bad. That's all that's going through my head. I hate it for him. That's it. I can't even comment about anything else, to be honest with you. And a lot of times that's kind of like a get out of jail free card. Just like, I'm not answering that. You look at his face, that's legit. Like that's what he's thinking about. And he's not anywhere else. Yeah,
totally. And he's so close with his players. Like he's a real players coach. So I'm sure that he's absolutely just tore up inside about this.
So let's get to Jack Edwards, the old Bruins announcer that everybody loves.
I hate Jack Edwards.
Nesson. He puts a tweet out that gets a lot of heat, and I think he's going to have to answer for this heat. I don't think this heat's going to go away.
Yeah. He's obviously, Nesson is his employer, but he's on the NBC feed. Do you think that NBC has a say in
Well, I think this makes him look really bad. And Nesson is basically owned by the Bruins and the Patriots and the whatever. Like it's New England Sports Network, right?
Yes.
So he puts a tweet out and he says, what NBC hasn't shown yet, because he wasn't covering this game. This is just him throwing his own comments in. What NBC hasn't shown yet regarding the unfortunate injury to Svechnikov, the Carolina wing playing hobby horse, riding Chara on the back apron of the goal. You poke the bear, you take your chances. No one wanted to see Svechnikov get hurt, but he bit off more than he could chew.
It's not like Chara intentionally did it.
Everybody is concerned about this player. And even when Tuukka went back to or announced he was opting out of play, even the Carolina Hurricanes put a tweet out saying, family's the most important thing. We hope everything works out for him.
Absolutely.
And then you have the main broadcaster of the team going after Svechnikov, and it wasn't even Svechnikov that was poking the bear. It was Aho.
Yeah, exactly.
So he was factually incorrect.
But like, it's not like Chara did that on purpose or something. They were in front of the net, and it was just an unfortunate fall.
Exactly.
Like, it. Oh my God, I hate him so much.
So number one, he says something inappropriate. Number two, he blames a player for doing something that actually didn't do anything because it was Aho. And number three, he's just an a-hole, like straight up.
Totally. And he is being called out by a lot of people, by NHL players.
The first big one was from Ray Ferraro, TSN.
Yep.
He said, what a joke and embarrassment, and then quoted him.
Mm-hmm. And then Carolina said, the Carolina Hurricanes even quoted the tweet and said, this one should have stayed in the drafts, Jack.
Like what are you doing?
Yeah, and
then Vander Kane came out today. Like, I had these notes printed from last night. And this morning when we got up, Vander Kane's even calling him out. So
I think it was worse than both of those. I can't remember specifically what he said, but it was like it's this is great though. I love it. I love seeing heat on Jack, and I hope he loses his job.
Like I said, I'm a Bruins fan, and I'm
you're a Bruins fan.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
You cheer for the team.
Nobody likes him. Even the Bruins fans. Like, he's gotten worse lately. I think.
He has.
Like, over the last 5 years, he's definitely gotten worse.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's fine to have it. It's fine for your home broadcast to be homerish.
They're kind of supposed to be.
Exactly. They're paid by the team.
Yes.
Basically.
The fans want to hear a bit of homerish like that.
But the team is going to pick people who talk favorably about the team.
Yeah.
He's done too many stupid things now.
But he's often on the national and NBC feed because of it. Mm-hmm. And Boston's a very prominent team, so a lot of people are going to watch those games. And it makes NBC look so bad, even though they're not really at fault. So I think that NBC may not choose that specific feed to carry as the national feed. Maybe they'll do the away.
That's intense.
The away broadcast. I don't know. We'll see.
So I think that's all I got for like news stuff.
Pretty much, other than the standings.
We should go over the standings as of right now. So
by the time you hear this, it'll change a little bit because there's games on this afternoon.
Yeah. So Boston's up 2-1. Any surprises there?
I'm surprised they won Game 3. Not like Halak is a very good goalie.
Well, but they didn't have Pastrnak either.
And they didn't have Pastrnak. Like, this team is obviously missing two of their big players in Rask and Pastrnak. I just felt like
you predicted Carolina, didn't you?
To win?
On that game.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, a lot totally. Of it was 74% on our Discord had Carolina win.
I just felt that they would feel a little bit deflated, but they played really well. I mean, the only goal that they led in, I think, was the gift that Halak gave.
Super gift.
Other than that,
there was one really goal that could have been counted. Like, it got shot on the left side and Halak grabbed it, but there was no clear, visible proof that the puck was over the line, which it may or may not have been. Yeah. Whatever.
I'm super impressed by Boston that they won that game, though. Like, super impressed.
Montreal, Philly, 1-1.
Yeah. It's hard to kind of get a gauge on this series.
I thought the first game was close-ish.
Montreal could have won that game.
Yeah. It was not close second game.
No, second game was a blowout. Montreal played really, really well, and Philadelphia didn't.
Carey Price, another shutout.
Carey Price, phenomenal.
Carey Price has come to play.
Did you see that save the other night?
Absolutely.
Unbelievable.
Like, how do you stop a puck when your stick is like this?
Unbelievable.
Like, it's just like, I'm going to give you some geometry, people, and bam, just enough angle to deflect it up.
Yeah. The fact that Philadelphia played so poorly in Game 2 made Montreal look better than they actually are. So I'm a little concerned there because Game 3 they're going to come out. I think Philadelphia today is going to come out pretty good. Yeah. But Montreal's two really good things going for them. Number one, three, I guess. Number one, they've already beaten Philadelphia, so they know they can do it again. Number two, Carey Price is playing very well. And number three, which isn't actually a positive thing, it's more of a negative thing, with Claude Julien going away, Kirk Muller stepped in. The good part about that is the boys really want to win for Claude. So they've got something emotionally. Yep. They're emotionally invested in the success of the team, not just because they want to win, but because they want to win for someone.
And Philly's going to have something too, because Alain Vigneault is going to be saying, they embarrassed you guys out there by adding all those extra goals.
I think
this should be an intense game.
Montreal's been an extremely physical team these playoffs.
Yep.
I don't know where it's come from.
Yep.
But
it's working.
It's working. I think Philadelphia's going to come out very physical in this game. We should see some fights, big hits. This is going to be a very good game. Game 3 today is going to be an amazing game.
Are you surprised the Islanders are up 2-0 on Washington?
I'm extremely surprised.
So am I.
And that's not taking anything away from the Islanders. They're a very good team. I just felt like with the talent that Washington has, even if they are down in a game, they can turn it on and put some pucks in the net and probably win one of these 2 games for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Surprised that they're up 2. I would have expected probably a 1-1 scenario right now. But yeah, good on the Islanders. They're the team I'm cheering for. So
Tampa Bay up 2-1. Any surprises there? Maybe a little bit for you because you weren't
these
as
have
high.
been really close games.
Very
Every
close.
game has been close. Yep. So I'm not really surprised it's 2-1, regardless of what team's 2 and what team's 1. I felt Tampa Bay's a better team.
Mm-hmm.
Columbus is getting barely any shots. Like their shots per game versus Tampa is significantly lower.
Yep.
Like if they're going to beat Tampa, they need to find some offense somewhere because it ain't working. But it's a good series because it's really good hockey for the most part.
Calgary over Dallas 2-1.
I legitimately have not watched barely any of this series.
Neither have I.
Like barely any. So I don't even have an educated opinion on what's going on here. I can't even say anything.
Mm-hmm. What about Vegas up 3-0 on Chicago? I guess that's not to be unexpected or...
I don't think I would have predicted a 3-0 lead in this series. I felt like Chicago probably could have pulled off a game, and they could have based on how they played.
It still could, though. It could be like a 4-1 series.
It could be a 4-1 series. I think Chicago has the ability to come back and probably win 2 games.
I don't think
they're going to win 3 games.
No. I
don't think Vegas is going to sweep. I think Chicago is going to win a game.
Vancouver, St. Louis. Vancouver's up 2-0.
Like I want to say I'm surprised by this, but based on how St. Louis played in the preliminary games and how Vancouver played in the preliminary games, I'm kind of not surprised by this. Vancouver's playing so well.
St. Louis and Boston are basically the same thing. They just didn't do anything.
Yeah, and like Binnington, I mean, let's be real, he hasn't really looked that great.
Yeah.
So, this is fantastic. I really love this.
Which one did I forget? Because I've been jumping around.
Colorado and
Arizona.
Yeah,
I
this
watched
one.
part of that game yesterday.
I mean, Kemper completely stole that game. The game 3, I think it was unbelievable. But I think Colorado still wins this series for sure.
Okay, let's get into some fun stuff here and then we'll wrap it up.
Let's do it.
Okay, I was meant to go up this morning and check this number and I didn't, so I don't have the most recent total. But Elliot Friedman is shaving the beard,
which is very unfortunate, but it's for a good cause.
Yeah, he's going to be. The proceeds are going to the Steve Ludzik Foundation and the Red Shoe Fund. As of last night, when I printed these notes, he had a $10,000 goal and he actually exceeded that.
Yeah,
it's 10,400. I don't know what it's at this morning. It's probably higher than that. But I did print these last night, so
that's awesome.
Anyways, the beard's coming off. Buffalo are going back to the royal blue jerseys, which everyone online seems to be pumped about.
Yeah, I'll eventually make a video about this probably early this week. I was pretty drained after the last week and a half of videos. Prepping all the series and live streams and everything. So I will make a video about this, but my short thoughts are pretty cool, but I'm not that excited as most people.
Yeah, I mean it's very similar to what they have.
It's a shade.
Like I have the details, like I have the neck details, the striping, and the crest and the logo. I have the changes, but they're just small refinements to what they already had.
Totally. Yeah.
And then the last one we'll get to is Gord Miller, who is a TSN guy / NBC guy. He's walking around the bubble, just doing his thing.
Maybe he's not a lot to do. Go for walks and stuff.
He's in the bubble, walking around, looks down. There's a box of empty condoms down there.
In the bubble.
In the bubble with all dudes.
Which is basically 98% men.
So, is someone sneaking in? Some women's?
Oh, I don't think so.
Or is someone taking care of business himself? Like something going on, or it's just a troll. But it was a...
No, I don't think it's a troll. I think there's something going on. I don't... It makes it sound like it's the players. I don't think it's the players.
It's definitely not the players.
It's someone else.
Yeah.
Having a good time, I think. But
his tweet says, "Day 13 in the NHL bubble. Someone's having a very different experience than the rest of us." Just an amazing tweet.
It's an incredible tweet. Yeah.
And that's it. That's all we got for this one.
That's pretty. And we even kind of left some things out. That's how much stuff happened.
Yep.
There are games on today. I do not have them written down, so I don't specifically know which ones come on at what specific times. So we're going to avoid the predictions, I think, maybe, unless you want to look them up.
I can look them up real quick.
You want to make some predictions?
You know how I can do that? I can go on our Discord really quick.
Heck yeah. Shout out to Discord if you're not on Discord.
All right. So Washington, New York Islanders.
I think Washington needs to win this game. They have to win this game.
I'm with you.
So I'm predicting Washington.
Dallas, Calgary.
I'll predict Calgary just because Dallas is really inconsistent. Look at you.
Dallas is going to win the game. Hats on.
Man, you always wear that hat.
Vegas, Chicago. They're going to win their game today.
Chicago has to win this game.
Yep.
I don't feel like they'll be embarrassed if they get swept.
They weren't even supposed to get this far.
Okay, yeah,
they weren't supposed to be in the playoffs, period.
But I'll give Chicago some love. I'll predict Chicago.
Philly, Montreal.
Philadelphia. What? Philadelphia is going to win this game. I think it's going to be the opposite of game 2.
If Montreal wins this game, do they win the series?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to take Montreal.
Are you really?
Yep. St. Louis, Vancouver.
I
think St. Louis is going to win their game today.
Oh, we'll see. All right. Well, there's a lot of information that we talked about, a lot of things discussed. Next week, we'll probably have just as many things because it's...
I like our new note system.
The new note system's good.
It makes Saturday nights way better.
Guess who's going to be on the next podcast?
Next week? The legend?
The GOAT.
Coming down?
The GOAT will be here, as far as I know. Now, we may have to film on Saturday night, potentially.
We can do it whenever.
Because I think he might leave on Sunday. I don't exactly know.
Do you know what else the GOAT's going to experience? The flight simulator.
Oh, the flight. Man, that
comes out on Tuesday, I believe.
Is it the 15th?
It's the 18th, right?
And today's the 15th.
I think it's Tuesday. We're getting close to the flight simulator.
Yeah, so there might not be any videos later in the week. No, there will be, of course.
Tune into Twitch to watch Neil learn how to fly.
Oh yeah, by the way, if you're not aware, we did live stream Friday night.
Marbles.
We live streamed on YouTube, looked at some jersey concepts. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. We looked at some AHL jerseys, some NHL jerseys, reacted to them. And then we transitioned over to Twitch. Our first live stream on Twitch. We had roughly between 40 and 50 people over on Twitch following us. And we were playing marbles. If you don't know what marbles is, it's a physics-based game where everyone gets a marble and every map is different, and gravity determines how your ball interacts with other balls and things on each map, and the first marble to the end wins.
Yeah. So it's basically a live stream. Everyone in chat type something. They get a marble in game with their name on it.
Yeah.
All the marbles are at the top of this obstacle course, and then they all just go. And then we play it with all the names up and see who gets first, second, third.
Exactly. So it's not something you can watch. It's actually something that you can take part in.
Everybody loved it.
We had an awesome time. So we're going to do that again this week, I think, if we can.
Yep.
And so if you're not following on Twitch, it is twitch.tv/post-to-post is the link. And just give it a follow, because you actually need to be following the account to play marbles. So, and if you don't have a Twitch account, just make a Twitch account, because you need that as well. Mm-hmm. So if you want to have some fun with this, and we watched hockey at the same time while we did it. So we'll be talking a little bit of hockey while we do it, and then having some fun with the game of marbles. And
that game does not work on YouTube, which is why we have to do it on Twitch. Correct. Otherwise, we just do it on YouTube because you're already there.
Yeah, and everyone had such a fun time. It was
we had people in Discord asking when we're doing it again.
Yeah,
we don't know. That was just kind of a one-off.
Yeah. But I'll try and link that down below in the description, or I'll get Jason to, because he runs this channel. So the link to the Twitch, and I'll put it in mine because that's not in there right now. So.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. This wraps up episode 12. If you're not subscribed to this channel, I would love it if you go down and hit the subscription button on YouTube. If you're listening on an audio basis, if you want to give us a follow on iTunes or wherever you listen to it, we'd really appreciate that. Hope you're watching lots of hockey, and we'll catch you next week for episode 113, hopefully with the GOAT. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate you. You did most of these notes. You're the man. I'll see you guys later. Adios.